action. We hop into game number 2 between Wam and DeMuslim into Altai, where Wam will be whipping out his all too familiar Mongols here. DeMuslim also familiar with the Chinese. Let's see who's going to come out ahead.
Indeed, in command of the Mongols in the color blue is Wam, and with the red color, it is DeMuslim. This time around, he won't pick purple, so we don't have the chance to talk about the history of the purple dye.
Instead, we can talk about the history of the red dye. It's cheaper to just have someone who died in clothes, and you know, their blood is everywhere, right? So you just dress everyone in white. When they die, you have red clothing. Boom.
Oh, I don't think that's very healthy to do so, though.
I mean, you say it's not very healthy. We're talking back in like the 12th century. Like, people were crapping into a bucket and hurling it out of a window, Lidakor. Do you really want to talk to me about the healthiness of like the 12th century?
Well, I mean,
I love that, by the way. Like, when people are like, I would love to have been a king back in the day. And you're like, dog, like, do you know how good you've got it with running water and access to painkillers? Kings didn't have that.
True. You also have a lower chance of being stabbed in the back for your throne nowadays, I feel.
Well, I feel like there's bigger ramifications if you get stabbed in the back, right? You know.
I mean, it depends.
Yeah, well, it always depends, Lidakor. Like, I'm sort of talking in general, you know? I can walk around a corner and feel less likely to be stabbed in the face when I walk around that corner than if I was walking around in, like, a 10th century Paris.
I mean, let's be honest. If you ever get to be backstabbed nowadays, at least the weapon that they will use is going to be smaller than it was in the 10th century.
It's kind of weird how we've gone backwards in that regard, you know? We always like to think that bigger was better. But now everyone's just worried about the nanos and what they're going to do to us in the coming years. So, opening up with this game, I want to see whether Wam's going to tower. I think he could. I think he will. And there's your confirmation right there with the racks.
Like it. I like it a lot. You know that the Chinese won't be doing that much aggression at the beginning. They have the chance to match your spearmen when you supervise the barracks. That's not the problem. The thing is that the Chinese don't want to do that. For the Mongols, this is a relatively minor investment, and it could throw off the Chinese build quite a bit. And it might not even get scouted for a while. Ooh. Yeah, the forest is shielding them. He spotted it.
Oh, no, he knows. Now, this is another unrealistic thing, by the way. Back in the 10th century, no one had eyesight that good.
You're telling me they had no binoculars?
I mean, like, does that guy look like he owns binoculars?
Well, like, speaking of realism, then, how realistic is it to just have a random dude walk up to the enemy empire and start building a tower single-handedly?
I mean, I wish I could draft you many stories of that occurring. I think they would be amazing stories. Like, yeah, y'all pussy's gonna lose to this, just there with a hammer and some nails, like bang, 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 bang. Yeah, before you can reach me, I'm gonna complete layer 1 of the foundation.
Barbican now coming out for the Muslim, also dropping a village right at the beginning. Uh-oh.
Well, it's China, so this is going up anyway.
Yeah, it's the delay factor, right? Like, it got scary for a brief moment for the Muslim. There is no doubt that he's going to complete this one. The bigger concern for him, I feel, is that he's being slowed down quite a bit over here, and this is what the Mongols want to accomplish here. They just want to delay you, work their way towards their own second town center, and just make sure you are delayed to Song Dynasty and second TC as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that the issue is always when you try to do this rush as the Mongols against the Chinese, they just build too quickly. Now, you did force the Barbican out of him first. The Muslims had plenty of bad experiences with tower rushes when he's playing Chinese. But he can still go back for the Imp Academy. He has enough fleshed out room here. He has now secured a wood line as well as the gold, so it should be pretty cruise mode for him.
Yeah, he's got a very safe base over here. It is a little concerning that both of his gold mines are right next to one another, though. In fact, this is more than concerning, because look at the backup options that the Muslim has when it comes to gold. His only backups would be to the north, and those could be cut off from him too.
Yeah, I was about to say, as soon as you said, yeah, look, where are the backup gold options? Wham's already there with that. It's like, it's not going to get easy to hold on to those long term, but the cool thing, at least, about being the Chinese is you can somewhat sustain yourself off of taxes alone, especially once you have the Imperial Academy.
Yeah, for sure, you can. It's more about the fact that if you want to go to Castle Age, you will need a lot more gold than that. So this might throw off your Castle Age timing. So given the circumstances, this is really good value for Wham, because it forces the Muslim to make a move. It forces the Muslim to play a suboptimal build, potentially.
Yeah, man, this is always one of the frustrations with Altai. I think it's actually why the Mongols are pretty underrated on this map, is because the gold is very predictable and there's limited gold around your base. It's very easy to actually cheese your opponent with a few outposts like this. Even the wood line feels a bit uncomfortable to be worked like this.
Yeah, it's
I don't think Wham will
annoying.
commit to another. I don't think Wham will go for like a third outpost here anytime soon. But it's still annoying because DeMuslim, like one of the big issues you have with the Chinese, you want to eco boom, so you need more resource and more space. Altai is difficult to get both of those things.
This is scary though for the Muslim. The Muslim seems to be neglecting the threat of the towers. We talked about this one yesterday, that you have a couple of towers that don't immediately threaten you. You often just ignore them. But this time around, this could be scary because look at where the lumberjacks are at. They are exposed and horsemen are coming, second tower also coming up. So this tower's aggression with the horsemen following it up could be deadly.
Especially if it doesn't get reacted to. The Muslim only now prepping the archery range, so might struggle to actually get a reaction out quick enough unless he pulls the villagers. Instead, the villagers are going to pull back. Bit surprised by this.
He spotted the horseman, he knows. He's gonna try to play with Spearman and Chukunu. But if the tower goes up here, this is a different problem. Because once the tower is up, you are gonna have to take it down.
And now the horsemen are going to harass him on the line. So first troops coming out, but Outpost should be successful in going up. Another cool detail from Wham that was pretty effective there. He didn't have arrow slits yet, so he kept 2 spearmen in each of his outposts. Love that detail.
Yeah, that's a nice little touch. Now he rallies the spearman to the other tower, though. He needs that. He's got arrow slits on the other tower, and this tower in all certainty should go up. The Muslim is going to pull the villagers to try and stop it, though.
He waited until the very bitter end.
It's too late.
In fact, he may have waited way too late here. Torches onto it, but foundations aren't going to be there much longer. It's going to be complete. Now the garrison's going to come in. Decent damage is going to be returned towards those villages. And yeah, sure, you'll get rid of it, but you're going to lose a few villages for your trouble. You've idled a crap ton as well. And the horsemen have still been somewhat effective in their trades.
Yeah, in the end, you take down the tower. Congratulations. But this is throwing off the timings of the Muslims so badly. Dozens of villagers idle. You did even lose a couple of them. You also lost some of the army. And at the end of the day, if you look at where the Muslim is at right now, he's up 5 villagers despite being in Song Dynasty for quite a while. Nowhere close to the second TC he is. Whereas on the other side, Wham is already dropping his own.
And he's not going to be able to, yeah, that's the thing. Like, he's not going to keep that eco lead for long because of the second TC from Wham. Wham loves to do this build. Would love to see if he ended up going for the forestry. I know he likes to go for it quite frequently on Altai. It's kind of interesting, actually, that he prioritizes it on this map, considering the lack of wood you have near to your base.
Yeah. For now, looks like Wham is going to stop the aggression, though. Do we have a reasonable stone mine to work with for Demo? I'm just now realizing. Wait a second, KP. Look at the stone mine spawns.
Yep. Yep. So, no TC threat from the Chinese anytime soon.
This is really bad for Demo.
Yeah, he needs to get a siege engineering fast. Looks like he's going to go for the torch down instead, but like he has very limited spears.
He's not even pulling the villagers.
This isn't the right move. I mean, you might get the outpost, but you're going to lose half your army.
That's the problem. He needs to pull the villagers here. Sacrificing a couple of vills at least would make some sense, because then you have your standing army that you can do some damage with. But as you said, at this point, Wham is more than happy trading that tower for the lives of those spearmen, because he already laid the second TC of the Muslim. He himself has his own. And yeah, this is suboptimal at best for the Muslim. Finally gets rid of the tower, but it comes at a high cost.
Yeah, now Wham has flexibility to double down on aggression or tech up. I think he's going to choose tech up. Castle Age is the unlock he's looking for. It's just, you're accepting the reality as to Muslim, like the amount of effort you'd have to make to push him off that stone in time isn't worth it. Especially when you consider the Chinese can just supervise to get the stone required even quicker.
Indeed, this will be spotted by Wham. Oop! Con goes down. Chat, do your thing.
Pathfinding is fun, guys.
Chat ready to type GG already with the con going down out there. Truth be told, Vam has 0 standing army right now and 0 vision, so it's somewhat scary. Luckily for him, the Muslims army is not super intimidating either.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, the Muslim doesn't want to build much more military. He just wants to get more value out of what he has existing. Building Chugenu at this stage in the game doesn't feel good. Usually I like Chugenu and Feudal for the Chinese, but up against the Mongols, it feels kind of off because you know they're Russian castle. That's why he's making this move. Timing seems decent if you had Ram.
But you don't. But you do have forestry, or at least you will have it very soon.
Yeah, I still want to see if Wam actually got improved forestry. I think that's very important here. It doesn't look like it judging by the numbers, but I know historically he does like to get a lot. No, so he ignored it completely. Interesting. Wheelbarrow also only coming through now for both players. But, man, this is just tough. Like, you need to build a Ram, but at the same time, you're against the Mongols, so you don't want to build a Ram.
Yeah. Your best bet is to push the Ovoo, which is somewhat exposed over here. But at this point, Vam might even give up on that for the time being. Just pull the stable, pull the racks, because he wants to go to Castle and clean you up with men-at-arms.
And he's looking to go to Castle now, the Muslim. I think he did complete siege engineering, so he's going to commit to a Ram here. Could do some damage on the backside at least, but he's not directly preventing the castle up. He's just preventing what comes next.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. He's got a battering ram coming up. And indeed, there we go. Shukanu. Ooh, look at that, though.
That's a freebie. Yeah, Wam was ambitious thinking he could back away, and I love that. Instantly, the Muslim refunds the Ram, because why do I need it if there's nothing here? Great detail.
Yeah, that's good value. In fact, you get the feel that he did this intentionally. Just dropped the Ram right in the face of Wam, telling him, you better run, getting ready to jump on that building as it backed up.
And now he's got enough torch damage here to take out the Ovoo as well. Wam won't be able to quickly regain access either because he'll only have single production, and also there are spears here, so he actually lost the worst thing. He'd prefer if he still had the racks instead. He'll just have to build new ones at home.
Yeah, that's probably the reason why the Muslim targeted that. I think he could have caught the stable as well, but for him it made more sense to deal with the barracks.
Interesting he goes back to the Ram anyway. I think this is a bit of a waste. You would have had enough damage to kill off the Ovoo without a Ram.
Yeah, I think so too. I just don't think that it was something that was really necessary. He could have taken down the Ovoo, and you see, Vam might even have just cancelled it and replaced it elsewhere anyways.
Yeah, maybe he's just going to be big brain about this. He's like, okay, I can just move in and start attacking the stable and force him to pack it up before he builds a Lancer. That might be the intention here, in which case it's actually very smart.
The Muslim back at home, he's fully walled, so the first couple of Lancers won't be able to do immediate damage. And Dhimu himself is also thinking about Castle Age over here, so Vam won't be able to capitalize on his Castle Age advantage that much.
Men-at-Arms are now showing up. Chugenu actually not that bad against men-at-arms in this quantity. You can see how they're just whittling away at them. It means the Ram's also being ignored, so Pashas have to pack up and move away. Just some small chip idle time that's being achieved by DeMuslim. We highlighted earlier that this army is a throwaway, and I'd say it's actually achieved its value with what it's done to Wam so far. And DeMuslim, as a result, is now making his way up to Castle.
Yeah, and he is doing that from a position of strength, actually. He's still the aggressor. And he actually has the eco lead, plus, more importantly, the walls. He's safe back at home, so he can turn all his attention to just being the aggressor. He's gonna probably do so with some palace guards.
Palace guard incredibly effective here as well, because the men-at-arms on the Mongol sides, while technically faster when they're yammed, you can't guarantee you're gonna be yammed. In fact, most Mongol players don't really lay out outposts the way they used to because of how much longer it takes to build them.
Yeah, and as you said, most of the time, especially in the middle of the field, those man-at-arms won't have the yam, and the palace guards will just run past them, go straight to the eco, and start picking up villagers from Wam. Wam trying to torch his way through that wall. Ram actually still alive here, trying to threaten that one step redoubt.
Chugenu are going to be annoying here, just idling the eco. And even if one of them dies every time they do this, like the idle time is going to add up very quickly, especially considering we're talking about the thing that you get an extra 50% on drop-off with.
Yes, and you're also down by 17 eco already. So you really don't want those villagers to be idle, and as they are being resent to the gold mine, they're not even on the side of the step redoubt. So you won't even be getting your 50% drop-off bonus.
Chiganu see an opportunity to trade away their lives. It's actually a really good trade here. You can see they've got enough damage to burst down the villages straight away. So they'll be cleaned up, but behind this, you can see men-at-arms, Rob Palace Guard, crossbows, and Nesta Bees all being prepped by DeMuslim. Healthy comp to deal with what Wam is now pushing.
Yeah, Wam looks like he found a way inside the base of the opponent, but this army is going to be short-lived. Crossbows dealing with the men-at-arms. A couple of villagers got caught in the crossfire, but this is something that DeMuslim can afford, him being up by almost 30 villagers.
Yeah, it's not really looking that close right now. And the issue I do see is that the Lancers, Lancers are very difficult to use on Altai. There's just not that flexibility you're looking for.
Yeah.
If you're relying wholly on men-at-arms and siege, up against Nesta Bees and tankier Springalds, DeMuslim could come out ahead.
Especially when DeMuslim is already walling up. Now, one advantage that Wam could have is that he could offset some of the villager difference with the relics. He already has one, picking up 2 additional ones. And for the time being, DeMuslim is playing a defensive game, but we are reaching that threshold where the Chinese really come online. This Castle Age, Palace Guards, Nest of Beasts type of an approach once they reach this 80 to 90 villager mark.
And it looks like DeMuslim wants to keep drop. He's reacquiring control on the stone line. This will probably be a keep drop around the center with the sacred site, and that'll give him a push in. One big issue for Wam is his Ovoo is on the front line, so if a keep drop does occur in this area, his double production access could be limited.
His DC is also on the front. A castle right next to this forest over here is devastating. It is going to force Wam to relocate his entire base, and it seems like it's a reality for DeMuslim to pull off because his army is dominating the battlefield right now.
Yeah, he has quantity, and he has qualitative solutions to what Wam has. Nesta Bees is also just annoying in these choke points, and if you consider the fact that Wam has gone mass men-at-arms, he can't take good fights. Nesta Bees are too effective. See those men-at-arms, prevent it from completing the Springald here. Looks like he's trying to aggro him out of range. The crossbow can get good effect, but realistically, DeMuslim could have just dove this fully. Chooses to be a little bit more restricted, a little bit more disciplined instead.
Yeah, he doesn't need to rush this one. He knows that he's in a pretty powerful position. He's got the eco lead, doesn't need to rush this. And more importantly, he dives this and he loses the army. He loses the opportunity to drop a keep. He's already at 800 stone, so he just needs to buy himself some time to drop that keep in front of the opponent's base.
Demu not reacting. Finally, we'll start moving the Nesta Bees back. Now, consider that the Palace Guard can actually chase these Springals pretty easily, so Wam can't come out too far to pursue because of how fast the Palace Guard are.
Looks like a couple of buildings have to be pulled back over here. That is the blacksmith, might even be lit ablaze.
It's so absurd that they can keep pace with that. It looks like it should be so fast, and yet no. Palace Guard, 2-legged cavalry. Whoop, whoop.
And I would assume that the villagers are about to arrive. Indeed, here they go.
Oh, this is even bigger than what I was expecting. It's the wood line. He's blocking that out. There is a southern wood line still accessible for Wam, but this prevents any extension north side. He can't react to the build-up because there's a dive coming out. DeMuslim with a 2-pronged assault here. One to build up the defenses, the other to dive into the base. And that dive into the base is still trading reasonably well due to the crossbows.
It's the pick your poison for Wam over here. He tries to stop the keep, the army will fall into his base. He tries to fight that army, the keep goes up, and DeMuslim is far from being done. He's still gathering stone. He's getting ready for a second keep drop here. Actually drops a mill on the boar even to yoink that.
Yeah, he wants to offset the farm transition, right? I think he's halfway through it now, but any investment further into farms back at home prevents him from pushing more military to end the game now. He wants to end the game now. The trebs are being prepped. Military Academy is also being prepped. He wants to escalate this camp fast.
And he can do so. He's ready for the second keep. It is coming up at a very aggressive position. Wam will have to relocate his entire base if he wants to survive this.
And that's something to highlight here.
Traction traps, though. Gotta be careful.
Traction trebs doing prep. But something important to highlight here is that there's one civ that handles keep drops quite well. It's the Mongols. Because, oh no, you keep drop my base.
Anyway.
My base. Yeah, let me just move my base one screen across. So it's more about the resource denial, though. There's limited wood in this area that Wam has access to, but let's keep in mind he has a northern TC that has a bunch of small wood clusters that he can use.
And the bigger concern is that as long as you're relocating your base, you're not really making an army, you're not really gathering resources even there, I say. And that is the problem that Wam is facing right now. He's falling behind in army numbers because he just has to run.
It's also the sheep. Look at where all the sheep are right now. It's the classic
as
Mongol
usual.
issue. Yeah, dude, I mean, I've been begging Mongol players to do this for a long time. I know they don't want to think about losing the game, but let's say you have 2 TCs. Why not have some pastures near the other TC? Like, for real. Just, I know it sounds crazy. I know I'm fighting against the tide here. But y'all don't need to, like, clump all your sheep together like you're trying to create the great sheep god, okay? We aren't in, like, Black Cloverland here. There's not a giant anime sheep that you're trying to create. They're all independent ones. So please, stop sticking them all in one location.
And that's gonna hurt the food eco of Wam for sure. He's about to lose the siege weapons, though. That's the bigger problem here. Trebuchet is now exposed, crossbows peppering down the man-at-arms. And it looks like the nest of bees will get some volleys out before getting taken down.
Yeah, I'm more worried about what's getting taken down in response. Everything. Wam doesn't hesitate to wave that flag. When he sees a confident dive coming out from DeMuslim, he knows it's over. Even up at 1-1 apiece here. We go the distance.
Yeah, the start was so good for Wam. He did a lot of damage with that tower exploit, went for his second town center, but then the follow-up was just missing. That detachment of Spearmen and Jukanu just do so much damage. They denied the Ovoo, they destroyed the barracks even, and behind that one, the Muslim was allowed to wall up, and from that point on, Wam couldn't just leverage that Castlage timing advantage. We're talking about 2.5 minutes of Castlage lead, yet barely any damage was done by Wam, despite the fact that he was much faster to Castlage than his opponent was.
And this is why I keep warning people that the Chuganu are being slept on. This unit is actually very effective in Feudal, because what happens is your opponent gets forced to either concede a lot of ground or overreact. I think the misunderstanding about Chuganu is like if both sides are massing forces, Chuganu can get countered by mass